Another video here in the channel. This video here is going to be for Bundesliga fantasy. Obviously, not only the Premier League season, but Bundesliga season's coming up here at the end of August. It starts, and I just thought I'd do this video here to kind of give you guys my initial thoughts, show you what I'm cooking in terms of my lineup, the teams that I put together, and just kind of share with you guys some tips from doing my research, kind of doing my analysis of what could be some good picks. Obviously, I noticed there's not a whole lot of Bundesliga content specifically. Obviously, a whole bunch of FPL content, but figure just put out some Bundesliga content for those of you that do play it, and potentially help you guys. Right? You guys can see here. This is my past rank history. The past 2 seasons, I started playing here in 24-25. Had an amazing finish there. 524 in the world. Kind of had a little. We dropped some ranks last season. Could have done better, but still, 2,495. I still think it's a pretty good finish. So hopefully, my tips can help you guys kind of, do pretty good too. Finish at some pretty decent ranks, I'd say here. Besides Bundesliga, you guys can go back in my channel and see the videos that I put out. I'm Brazilian. I'm not German, but obviously I have a deep love for the Bundesliga, just soccer in general. You guys can see I do UCL. I finished top 400 in the world in UCL fantasy as well in the UEFA app. So we had some pretty good finishes this past season. In FPL itself, I finished within the best 0.4% of players in the world. So yeah, and then in the Brazilian side of Premier League and stuff, I played the Brazilian versions. Some pretty good finishes there. So hopefully you guys check out the rest of the videos in the channel, and you guys stay for more. So let's get into it here. The matchups for Matchday 1 here in the Bundesliga. So obviously we're going to have the lineups for this matchup right here, which kind of helps, right? We obviously want to have some Bayern Munich assets. At least I do. I like watching Bayern. I'm a fan. If there's, the team I support in Europe is Bayern Munich. But besides that, right, the favorites, I definitely say here in this lineup, in this matchup, they're favorites against Stuttgart. I'd imagine like a 3-1, 2-0 win, maybe. I don't know. Bayern Munich sometimes get off the gates firing. We could see like a 4-0 win here. Wouldn't surprise me. Okay. But it's good that we have lineups. We can see if guys like Musiala are going to play. We can obviously see guys like Luis Diaz, Kane, which they obviously should be playing, but some other interesting pieces as well that we can play. Yeah, it's going to be cool to have the lineups helpful. Leipzig against Borussia Mönchengladbach. I'd say I expect Leipzig to win here. Probably favorites. Lost Diamande, right, in the transfer window here, but I still think they're favorites. Mönchengladbach kind of very much struggled last season. Let's see if things change this season around. But Leipzig, I think they have the depth, even with missing pieces like Diamande here. Expect them to probably we're saying like a 2-1 win here, maybe 3-1. Mainz, Paderborn. Paderborn obviously recently promoted from the Bundesliga 2 to Bundesliga. Mainz again, team that struggled as well last season. Pretty tough to call this matchup. Honestly, one of the tougher ones to predict, I'd say. I think, Paderborn have what it takes to score goals here. I think Mainz as well. Maybe game where both sides score. Maybe a 1-1 draw. Maybe Mainz get it done, but it's very tough to call. Paderborn could surprise here. Okay, Cologne against Hoffenheim. Tough matchup. Okay, Cologne playing at home, but Hoffenheim we saw what Hoffenheim did last season. Great team. I looks like a matchup here where both sides are going to score, but again, another case of Mainz and Paderborn. Very tough to to say who's going to walk out with the 3 points or if we're going to have a draw. Frankfurt, I'd say, are slight favorites against Union Berlin. Obviously, Frankfurt were nothing impressive last Bundesliga season. Struggled a lot, the defensive side especially. So we could see them getting scored on here by Union Berlin, but I still think they have the edge here. Maybe a 2-1 win. Maybe Frankfurt just have a better game and win by more than that. But I'd say Frankfurt slight favorites here. Elversberg, really good team, right? Really good team from Bundesliga 2, now promoted to Bundesliga. Playing Leverkusen. Elversberg playing at home. I think that helps them, obviously. I think Leverkusen, slight favorites here, but I think Elversberg managed to get a goal in. I think potentially that Leverkusen clean sheet doesn't hold up. Looking like a 3-1, 2-1 win here for Leverkusen, in my opinion, okay? Dortmund against Hamburg. I think Dortmund are favorites. Dortmund usually, right? Insigne Iduna usually, can get it done. Hamburg, again, not a bad team. Had a decent enough season, I'd say, last season. looking like a 2-1, maybe 2-0 win for Dortmund here, okay? Freiburg against Werder Bremen. Freiburg maybe slight favorites here, but I could see this game being 1-1. I could see this game also being 2-1 if Freiburg do the job, okay? Augsburg against Schalke. Schalke, obviously, the winners of Bundesliga 2 last season, the best team. At least according to obviously their, what they finished in the standings. They won Bundesliga 2 last year against Augsburg, a team that struggled a lot last year in the Bundesliga. One of those games where I could see Schalke surprising and winning this game here. Maybe both sides score. Maybe 2-1 Schalke. Maybe 2-1 Augsburg. Very tough to tell. Another one of those Mainz Paderborn. And who else did we say was a very tough matchup? Cologne and Hoffenheim as well. Those three are very, very much tough calls, okay? Very balanced, I'd say, okay? We could see some surprises there. Let's go here to the section where I'm going to outline some names that I like by position here for you guys to target, okay, for Matchday 1. This is Matchday 1 in specific, okay? So maybe there's some names that are good that I didn't include in this list because, in my opinion, for Matchday 1 in specific, they're not the best picks, okay? But for Matchday 1 in specific, Kane and Diaz, right, goes and said the two best forwards last season. They're probably going to do it again this season, okay? Probably realistically, very likely to finish as the two highest scoring forwards again this season, okay? It's just the price tag, right? Pretty hefty price tag, but if I built some teams where I managed to squeeze them in, I'll show you guys. It's manageable, but you're obviously going to have to budget in other areas of the team, okay? Patrick Schick, I like a lot. Leverkusen, after this game against Elversberg, which is already a good matchup, they go in a pretty good run after that. I forget who they play, but Leverkusen, Mainz, who else goes on a really good run to start off the Bundesliga season? Frankfurt. Those three teams go on really good runs to start off the season. So keep an eye out. You guys probably want to have a lot of pieces from those teams. Well, at least one or two. Just obviously because we have transfers, right? We have 5 transfers between match days. But obviously, you want to have some, pieces that can last you more than one match day, right? So thinking about those 3 teams could be a good idea, okay? Schick, again, like I said, decent enough against Elversberg. I think Leverkusen are slight favorites. He's really good. Girassi, we know Girassi, guys, right? Against Hamburg at home. Could, bag his goal, maybe more. Nusa, decent enough pick, I think, against Mönchengladbach, a guy that usually produces points without goals and assists. So it could be a good, point score for Matchday 1. Igor Matanovic, I like him a lot. Freiburg is another team, okay? Freiburg is another team that has a really good start of opening fixtures to start a Bundesliga season. I like him a lot here against Werder Bremen. He's a guy that showed that he's a natural goal scorer last season. When he got minutes, he usually produced goals. We could see that again here, okay? Homulu I like a lot, okay? It's just going to be tough to tell if it's going to be Homulu or, where is he? Konrad Harder to start off the Bundesliga season. I think they're very much... I could see either one starting, so it's going to be tough to tell. But against Mönchengladbach, if you're confident in which one starts out of those two, I think they're good picks, okay? Jonathan Burkhardt, I like him a lot. He's been bagging goals in preseason. He's been bagging goals, man, in preseason. And last season as well for Frankfurt, scored a lot of goals. Frankfurt's penalty taker should be him, okay? And the season before last season as well with Mainz. He's just a guy that's shown that he can score goals, man. He's 13. And if I didn't mention it, guys, the number you see in parentheses to the right of the name is obviously the player's price tag, okay? So 13.42 for Burkhardt. It's okay. It's a little steep, but at the same time, not so much because he can score goals. Against Union Berlin, I think he's a very good pick, okay? Ashlani, Lemperl as well you could include here for Hoffenheim. Like I said, I see it as an open matchup. I think Ashlani could, score here pretty decently well. Okay, could be an option. Ashe, Butler as well I could include here. Marius Butler for Cologne. I think, like I said, open matchup with goals. Ragnar Ashe scored plenty of goals last season. Why not here, okay? Philip Tites here, again, could be a good option against Paderborn at home for Mainz, okay? Geraldo Becker as well. Looks like he should start for Mainz. But I think, there's some doubt there between those guys and also Königsdorfer, okay? Königsdorfer. Like I said, guys, I'm not German. Maybe I'm pronouncing these wrong. You guys let me know, okay? But those 3, I think, maybe all 3 start, but I realistically think 2 of them start. So I think one of these guys could be left out of the starting lineup. Who is it? I don't know. There's a lot of doubt. So that's why those guys might be kind of difficult to select right now, okay? Afonso Moreira is a really good pick, guys, okay? He's the new left winger signing for Leverkusen. He's a guy that last year in Ligue 1 for Olympique Lyon had 11 goal involvements in 18 starts, okay? And he's a guy that right now in Leverkusen in the preseason, out of the 5 games that Leverkusen have played, he scored or assisted in 4 of them, okay? He has 4 goals and 2 assists already in these 5 games. So 6 goal involvements already. He's on fire. He's a guy as well that last season for Olympique Lyon had pretty good dual numbers, okay? Dual win numbers, which you guys know is pretty important to the scoring format of Bundesliga fantasy. So he could be a real gem. At 975, I think you can't go wrong, especially because you could keep him in the team for a little while. Because Leverkusen, like I said, have a pretty good opening run of fixtures, so definitely give him a thought, okay? Kofane, yeah, that Leverkusen attacks, like I said, I think Moreira and Patrick Schick are guaranteed to start for Leverkusen. But the other spots, like, is it going to be a guy like Kofane? It could also be, I forgot who the other attacker is for fucking Leverkusen, but it could be him as well. So it's kind of hard, right, to tell if who we're gonna see. But Kofane, if you're confident he's gonna start, he could be a really good pick. Okay, Kenan Karaman, the Turkish, kind of number 10 playmaker for Schalke, and he's their penalty taker as well. Last season he had some real good numbers in the Bundesliga too. Okay, like I said, Schalke opening the Bundesliga against Augsburg, he could be a hell of a pick. Okay, he's their penalty taker, and he, like I said, really strong assist goal numbers for Schalke. I don't mind that price tag for him, okay? He could be a shout here. Waldschmidt as well for Cologne. Could be an interesting pick. Sila is an alternative to Karaman. He's a guy that, he's kind of like their 9. He's Schalke's 9, okay? Strong, I feel like the numbers he put up last season in the Bundesliga 2 are kind of fake. He should have had way more goals. It was actually unbelievable. I think he had 8 goals on an expected XG of like 14. And sure enough, if you guys look at his stats from previous seasons, he had like 14, 16 goals. He's a natural goal scorer, okay? He's a good goal scorer. I personally like having the penalty taker, so I'd probably lean towards Karaman, and he's more secure for minutes, I think. But Sila is also a hell of a bet here, okay? Hard Erla, we already talked about him. Now is always a minutes risk. He's always a minutes risk. Does he start? Does he not? We already talked about Koenigsdorfer, really good, but kind of minutes risk. I don't know if he starts for sure. Njima for Werder Bremen, if you're confident in Werder Bremen, for that price tag, he's kind of a steal, okay? Ebnu Talib is probably the biggest steal in this list, I'd say, okay? He started the friendly, I think it was against Hull City. Frankfurt beat Hull City today. Matter of fact, Borkhardt scored, but Ebnu Talib started, okay? And he's a guy that we saw start quite often at the end of this past Bundesliga season. He's a guy that if he starts here, for Frankfurt, he's a steal. For 3.37, he's a steal. He scored goals on goals towards the end of last season when he got minutes. If he gets minutes, I'm sure he's going to produce. Ebnu Talib's a steal for Frankfurt at 3.37. It's just the minutes are a question, okay? Marino is Paderborn's number 9. He's a guy that I think had 8 goals, 1 assist. It was like 6 goals, 2 assists last Bundesliga season. But that was on limited starts, okay? I think that was only on like 14 starts or so. You guys take a look at it. But his XG was way higher. His expected goals was at like 10. So he should have had realistically like 11 goal involvements in, like 14, 18 starts. So he's a guy that realistically, for 2.49, if you're confident Paderborn can get it done against Mainz or they can find the back of the net, he's a hell of a bet here on Matchday 1, okay? Obviously to appreciate value as well. Because obviously, as you guys know, one of the main objectives here, Matchday 1, is to make bank, right? Is to make money. And obviously, if these cheap players do really good Matchday 1, you're going to make a lot of money on them. They're going to increase their value, and it's going to, expand your bank. So, real good bet for that, in terms of that, I think. Mokva is potentially the number 9 for Elversberg. Could be 5 for as well. Those two, for their price tag, if you're confident on one of them to get it done, why not gamble, right? Like, they're massive enablers, right? If you want to play like a 4-4-2 or a 1 attacker formation, where these guys are literally just absolute bets, why not? Okay. Midfielders that I like a lot. Obviously, Olise, right? Michael Olise, why not? Like, he's ridiculous, right? Yeah, look at that price tag, 37.5, but man, I feel like you gotta find a way to fit him in the team, or just know that if you go without him, he's gonna hurt you realistically. Like, we know this. We saw this time after time, right? Musiala, I feel like because the price difference between like 15 million between Olise and Musiala, we're going to get lineups for Bayern. If Musiala starts, I think he's worth it, okay? Maybe potentially even more worth it than Olise. Realistically, if we get a pick between Olise and Musiala, we're obviously going to pick Olise. But because of that price difference, maybe Musiala is worth it here, okay? Like, we know Musiala, what he's capable of, and maybe that price difference is not justified, right? Like, Musiala could end up having a better game than Elise match day one. So I think it's very much a guy that we could take a look at, Jamal Musiala, right? We know what he's capable of. Last season is not a true representation of what Jamal Musiala is, right? Garcia, we know him as a points producer in Bundesliga fantasy, worth a shot. But for 21 million match day one, is it really worth it? Like when for another 16, you could have a guy like Michael Lees, who, in my opinion, is miles better. But obviously Garcia, I gotta mention, we know what he's capable of. Amiri, given Mainz' good opening run and opening fixture, Amiri, we know Mainz' main guy is him, right? Maza, an alternative to Garcia, cheaper, a guy that I feel like is gonna have an amazing season in the Bundesliga. Okay, Ibrahim Maza, we've seen what he did, right? Decent enough World Cup as well campaign. But I feel like his numbers are going to take a leap this year in the Bundesliga. Okay, keep an eye on him for Leverkusen. Wouter Berger, steep. That price tag's steep, but he's an incredible points producer. Can Uzun, he could have a bounce-back season, guys. A lot of injuries last year. I love Can Uzun, though. For the opening fixture that Frankfurt has, he could be a pick here, okay? 15 is not the cheapest, but it's not a bad price for Can, I don't think, okay? Claude Maurice, maybe a little steep to open up things at 15.1. But as we get more money in the bank, he's obviously going to be a regular in the team, right? In plenty of match days, okay? Sano, a little steep at 13.9, but for Mainz, as kind of like that ball recovery kind of dog, midfield dog for Mainz, worth a shot, okay? Gruda could end up, putting this price tag here to shame. He could end up being a hell of a player for Leipzig. Kind of like what we saw Baumgartner take the leap last year for Leipzig. Maybe this is the year where Brian Gruda has a leap. I think in limited minutes he had 3 goals, 3 assists last Bundesliga season. That was in 12, 11 starts, 6 goal involvements. Pretty good, okay? For this price, if you want to take a bet on him, if you feel like he's going to start, I think it's worth a crack, okay? Brian Gruda, very, very interesting player. Could have a hell of a season, I think, okay? Kramaric got moved to the midfield this year. For 12.5 in a matchup where, like I said, I feel like Hoffenheim could score goals against Cologne. He's a really good pick, okay? Kramaric usually always consistent producer in the Bundesliga. A name that I like a lot here, okay? Just keep an eye out because apparently he's a doubt right now with a slim kind of injury, I believe. Just keep an eye out. He's questionable right now, okay, for match day one. El Mala, why not, for Cologne? Worth a bet. Had a decent enough season last year. Minutes are always kind of a question with him, right? Tillman as well, minutes are a question. He's an amazing point producer, though. Grifo, he's interesting. But I feel like there's 2 other names in the midfield for Freiburg that could be better and cheaper. Paul Nebel, interesting alternative to Amiri. I feel like he's worth a shot here in this opening run if you want to use him as a bet in the midfield. Jae-Sung Lee, another good name for Mainz, okay? But again, minutes are a problem, okay? I think it's going to be hard to tell. I feel like Nebel's more nailed than Jae-Sung Lee, okay? Besta, Jan-Niklas Besta and Suzuki are 2 awesome names for Freiburg. Both of them costing around 7. I feel like that's a steal, okay? Freiburg has an insane opening run, okay? If you guys look at Yuto Suzuki's production in limited time in the Bundesliga last year, awesome, okay? He's a guy that could have a leap this season. He could become like the Ritsu Doen for Freiburg that we saw a few seasons back. Suzuki could be that, okay? I feel like for this price tag, it's kind of a steal. It's worth a shot, okay? And Jan-Niklas Best as well kind of had a down year. We saw in previous seasons what he did for Heidenheim. This is a guy that could explode and have a really, really, put this price tag to shame, okay? Him and Suzuki, okay? Mert Kamur is a little bit of a bet, okay? More of a bet than these other previous names, okay, for Augsburg. He's kind of hit or miss, but more of a miss usually, so be careful, okay? Al-Shish, I think, is one of the best names, one of the best budget names in the midfield, okay? This is Schalke's attacking mid, the Algerian. This is Schalke number 10, okay? He produces goals and assists. I think he had, 7 goal involvements in, 11 starts? I could be way off on the numbers, but just look at his profile. Look at his statistics for last season. This is a guy that only started 13 games for Schalke last year, and he still managed to have 7 goal involvements. But his expected goals and expected assists were way higher. He could have had 10 goal involvements, dude, in 14 starts, I'm pretty sure. That's nuts, dude. And he's a guy that has really good dual win numbers. He gets a lot of ball recoveries. So he is a steal, okay, in my opinion. Al-Shish, for this price tag of 6.48. He's a steal, bro, okay? Against Augsburg, he could very well produce a goal and assist here opening day, okay? Keep an eye on him. He's a steal, okay? Petkov, he plays as a right winger. He's classified as a mid, but he really plays like a right winger for Elversberg. He took plenty of penalties for Elversberg last season, so he could be an awesome enabler here, okay? For 6.27, He had, I think, also he was top three in Bundesliga too, in terms of dual wins. Okay, it's a guy that had a lot of ground dual wins. Obviously, like I said, important part of the scoring rubric for Bundesliga fantasy is ground duels. He had a shit ton of them. Okay, he was like top three in the Bundesliga too last year. So keep an eye on Petkov, and he had plenty of goal involvements. Okay, I think he had like what like just go look at his assist and goal numbers for Elversberg. He's a guy here that if you want to take a shot at him here, I think he like just on duels alone he could produce enough to have a pretty good scoring match they won for you. Okay, keep an eye on Petkov. Okay, Zimmerschied, he's kind of an alternative to Petkov. I prefer Petkov way more. Okay, Jan Thielman for Cologne, a little bit more of a gamble. Okay, he usually plays pretty advanced, but his scoring is not great usually. I'll be honest. He's kind of a gamble. Okay, Batista Maier, Olivier Batista Maier, he's the number 10 for Paderborn. Had some decent enough numbers last year. I think Marino is the better bet here, but if you want to take a gamble on him, he's pretty decent for Paderborn. Onyeka could be the number 10, kind of the playmaker for Elversberg, a guy that we could potentially look at as well. But I feel like the biggest steal in the midfield is Dejan Ljubicic, okay? This is a guy that had, 15 starts only for Schalke last year? He's the right winger for Schalke, okay? And in that limited time, I think he had, 5 goal involvements? It was like 5 to 7 goal involvements, assists and goals. Like I said, in only 15 starts. Imagine if he had played the whole Bundesliga 2 season. He could have had like twice those numbers. He could have had like around 15 goal involvements, dude. In the whole Bundesliga 2 if he played all the games. For 2.71 is a joke, right? This is such an enabler in the midfield. This is a guy that is a steal, okay? Definitely give him a look. He's questionable right now for like a precautionary thing, but I think he's already back with team training. He should definitely start match day 1. For 2.71, if you're looking for the biggest gamble in the midfield, I think it's Dejan Ljubicic, okay? Defenders, obviously Schlotterbeck is awesome, but for that price tag, is it really worth it for match day 1? Maybe. Raum, we know how awesome he is. Plenty of goals, plenty of assists, plenty of ground duel wins. But for 18, is just a little bit too steep for match day 1? Maybe. It's going to be hard to get all those guys, right? Like Olise, Kane, Raum. Are you really going to prioritize Raum match day 1? I'm personally going to prioritize a guy like Kane and Olise, but if you guys want to take Raum, we know how awesome him and Schlotterbeck can be, right? Orban's cool too, okay, for Leipzig. Very good points producer. I'd probably pay the extra 2 to have Raum, personally. Ryerson, we saw him. Crazy assist numbers last year. Decent enough ground duel numbers. Ball recovery numbers. Maybe a little bit too steep. Okay, I'd look at the budget defenders from match day 1 so we could build some bank, right, and save to get these guys like Kane and Olise in the team, right? Svensson could be pretty decent, okay? Alternative to Ryerson, okay? Anthony Kachi, I think he had a down season last year. 2024, 2025 is probably a better representation of what he could be. He could be a very attacking fullback for Mainz, okay? A guy that I feel like for this price tag is okay, okay? Collins, decent enough for Frankfurt as well. Mitch Weiser, still a little bit of a doubt. He spent all of last season out with injury, but we know what Mitchell Weiser is capable of for Werder Bremen. He's crazy. One of the top scoring defenders and one of the top, goal contributing defenders, okay? If he starts here match day 1 and he gets going to his numbers for, offensive production, his price tag is going to increase pretty quickly, okay? Core for Mainz could be pretty interesting, okay? Bernardo for Hoffenheim, open matchup. He's crazy, right, for ground duels, ball recoveries. He's worth it, I think, for that price. Berkay Yilmaz was the number 1 ball recovery ground duels guy in the Bundesliga 2 last year. Crazy, okay? He was on loan, I think, for Nuremberg. Freiburg had him loaned the past 2 seasons, I think, for Nuremberg. Dude, crazy, okay? Crazy. He was the number 1, like I said, ground duels guys. Like, it was like almost 500 total. So, and we know how important that is for the scoring in Bundesliga fantasy. So he could be an absolute steal here, okay? The question is he actually going to start? Every single preseason game for Freiburg, he has started on the left back position. I think he should start. But he's a guy that also, along with those ground duel numbers, okay, he's a guy that had like 7 assists, dude. So he's a guy that can produce assists, potentially goals. I think the last DFB Pokal game he had a goal and an assist in the same game. So this guy could absolutely put his price tag to shame. He could be a crazy steal here on defense, okay? He's already like 5% owned in the game. No surprise. Keep your eyes peeled for Berkay Yilmaz, okay? Esteve could be an interesting name. Guy that came from Burnley, right? Recently signed for Leipzig. He should start for Leipzig. To have a Leipzig defender in their great opening round of fixtures for 7 million here could be a pretty decent enabler. Okay, could be a pretty cool enabler here if you guys are confident that Leipzig keeps some clean sheets. And he's just a good ball recovery ground duels guy. So very good pick. Okay, I love Danny DaCosta for Mainz as a pick. Obviously playing as their right back. He had 5 goal involvements last season, and he's a guy that usually produces decent enough ground duel numbers. Could be a little bit of a steal here. He could find himself a clean sheet opening match day against Paderborn. For that price tag, I love him. Okay, I feel like you gotta find a way to get him in the team. One of the top defenders our target for match day 1. Okay, Lukoshvili can't come. I think he scored 5 goals in the Bundesliga 2 last year. He's a Georgian defender, center back that could also play, I think, as a right back, left back, if I'm not mistaken. He's a guy that has strong dual numbers. Okay, so he's a guy that you guys could take a look at for Cologne. Now he's with Cologne. Could be an interesting pick. Okay, he has a very strong aerial game. Okay, he could score a lot of headers. Okay, he's a bit of like a always a threat in the box. Okay, Achtuch is a really good pick, I think, here for Leverkusen. Should start as their right back. He's Brazilian. We've seen Achtuch when he gets minutes. He usually produces. He could produce some assists. He could produce some ground duel numbers. Very interesting pick here. Cheap enough that you could slide him in match day 1 here. And Leverkusen, like I said, has a pretty good run of fixture, so he could be an awesome pick here on defense. Mwene could be an alternative to, guys like Kachi, guys like DaCosta, okay? Gruber is the cheapest one out of all these Mainz guys, okay? And he has insane ground duel numbers, okay? He has some insane ball recovery ground duel numbers. He's a recent signing for Mainz, and I believe I'm filming this August 8th, okay? He scored in their preseason game right now. Their preseason friendly, he scored today. I'm guessing a header, but he scored. So for this price tag right here, I'm guessing he should start. He's on predicted on Bully News and all these websites to start. He could be an absolute steal, okay? Kurda has insane stats, okay? He's a right back / right mid for Paderborn, which last season in the Bundesliga 2, he simply 7 goals, 7 assists. 14 fucking goal involvements, dude, in 30 games, 30 starts. 14 goal involvements for a guy that's classified as a defender for this price tag right here. But it's more than that. He comes along with more than that, dude. I think he averaged 7.2 dual wins, duels per game last season in the Bundesliga 2. That's crazy, bro. A guy that put up 7 goals, 7 assists, and averaged 7.2 ground duels per game. Paderborn doesn't have the worst opening fixtures. They're obviously a recently promoted side. But for a guy that is playing super high up, sometimes as a right winger, dude, right mid, right back, with those kind of goal involvement numbers, I think he's a fucking steal, dude. For this price, his price tag is going to go up pretty quick, in my opinion, okay? Baum, really interesting for Frankfurt. He's a guy that Frankfurt's coach said he's not going anywhere. He likes him. Guy playing in the right back position for Frankfurt. He's had some really strong preseason games, okay? Against Trabzonspor, he put up a crazy good performance. He's a guy that was on loan recently. Same kind of case as Berkay Yilmaz. He was on loan in the Bundesliga 2, put up strong numbers for assists, strong numbers for ground duels. So him and Kosugi as well. Kosugi has been starting in the left back position. So Frankfurt's 2 predicted fullback starters, right? Kosugi on the left, Baum on the right. Absolute budget steals, okay? If they produce what we expected them, right? Strong dual numbers. Kosugi's a guy that came from the Swedish League, I believe. Dude, for 3.2, if he's going to start for Frankfurt, with the numbers he has for ground duels, his potential to provide some assists, Frankfurt's good opening run, I think Kosugi and Baum could be absolute steal enablers on defense for you, okay? Simpson Pusey, not my favorite name. I'd probably be looking at Lukoshvili more than anything for a Cologne defender. But he's a name, I guess, if you want to have a budget enabler. Gunter, he could be kind of a doubt, like I said, because Yilmaz apparently is questionable to start at left back for Freiburg. Is it going to be Yilmaz? Is it going to be Gunter? I think Yilmaz, okay? But he could be a good pick if he starts at left back for Freiburg. Scheller for Paderborn could be decent enough. He has strong ground duel numbers, okay? Pinkert for Elversberg could be decent. And if you need the absolute budget of budget enablers, it's Jan Gamera for Elversberg, okay? A guy that plays as right back for Elversberg could be decent enough. I mean, for that price tag, you can't go wrong, okay? He produced some decent assists. I think it was 5-4 assists in the Bundesliga 2 last year. A guy that we just know is going to start, produce decent enough ground duel numbers. To fit other pieces in your team as an enabler, Jan Gamir I think is good, okay? Goalkeepers, to me, this combination of Zentner and Bredlow is a no-brainer. Bredlow, obviously starting goalkeeper, predicted for Stuttgart. I mean, the cheapest starting goalkeeper is him. We want to have like a budget goalkeeper rotation. Last year I had a budget goalkeeper rotation. It didn't go wrong. Usually budget keepers play for quote unquote teams that get scored on a lot, are going to be called upon to, these are keepers that are going to see a lot of action usually from like teams down below in the standings. So usually it works out for you, right? Because they're going to produce a lot of saves. And if they have a clean sheet, happy days. You're going to have a really good score. But I think Zentner is usually a guy that we always see, guys, on the top goalkeeper scores list in Bundesliga Fantasy. So for 7.2, I think he's an absolute steal, okay? This rotation I love, okay? Zentner, Bredlow, to me, 2 starting keepers for decent enough teams that could produce saves, could produce maybe not Bredlow, a clean sheet, right, against Bayer, but Zentner, maybe a clean sheet against Paderborn. Awesome, okay? I wouldn't go super expensive with goalkeepers. There's no point, okay? Why not have these guys for 11 million, 2 starting keeper rotations, and then compared to paying like 10 million for one keeper, and realistically way more than that for a backup keeper. You're going to have to pay, right, at least 14 million. If you don't go with these two, you're going to be looking at 3-4 million extra. When you could have this rotation right here, to me, this rotation right here is a no-brainer to open up the Bundesliga fantasy season with, okay? Kawang, he's okay. He's been starting preseason, but I think he's always a question mark if it's going to be him or Michael Zetterer that start for Frankfurt. So it's a little bit of a risk there, but he's been decent enough. He's been pretty decent in the past for me in Bundesliga Fantasy, but his minutes are a question right now, okay? This is some of the potential teams that I put together. I put together 2 lineups here, guys. Look at this team. Good enough, right? Good enough. If we see Musiala start, this lineup could end up producing very well. We already talked about Moreta, how good he is, how good of a run he is. We already talked about how on fire Jonathan Burkhardt is in the preseason, how good of an opening run Frankfurt has. Kane is Kane, not much to talk about. Musiala as well. Al-Shish, we already talked about how good he is for Schalke, how good he was for Schalke. Absolute steal enabler. Jan-Niklas Besta and Suzuki. You guys can see I fit both of them here in the team. That keeper rotation is OP to start the match day with. Danny DaCosta, awesome. Kosugi and Baum in the team. We already talked about how much of budget enablers they are. Kurda, I feel like he's not going to leave the team, bro. A guy that put up 14 goal involvements as a defender, classified as a defender. Again, he plays as like a right mid usually. That whole right side of Paderborn is him. Like, he managed that whole thing, dude. And he had like 7.2 ground duels numbers. He was one of, I think, the top 3 in the Bundesliga 2 for ground duels. Man, like, no-brainer. No-brainer, okay? Jubicic, obviously here. Like I said, the number 1 midfield budget enabler is him, okay? This team, very well put together, in my opinion. If you guys want to go with Mike, if you guys want to go Elise, you can go Elise, right? You're going to take a hit on the offense in the forward position. You're not going to be able to fit a guy like Burkhardt. In this team, the forward is going to be Ebnu Talib. I feel like this team is really good if we see that Ebnu Talib is very likely to start. As of right now, there's a real good chance Ebnu Talib is going to start for Frankfurt. If he does, I might just roll this team out, dude. I might just roll this team out to have a guy like Michael Elise in the midfield. But again, very similar. This team is very similar to the top one. Basically, I just switched Burkhardt for Elise. But yeah, man, like, I've seen some mock matchups for Bundesliga, and I feel like these two teams that I put together, guys, they're the best that I've seen, okay? I've seen Bundesliga fantasy people put out their teams, and I feel like these 2 teams right here are, the best that I've seen, guys, okay? I feel like I put together 2 very strong teams for you guys. 2 strong teams for you guys. But yeah, you guys let me know what you think, okay? All of these players play. All of these players are capable of scoring points. Maybe we can't, fit everybody that we want. Obviously, we only have 150 million, but I feel like we did what we could with the money that we had, okay? Here's my Instagram. My final team, come the deadline, is going to be posted there on my story. All my fantasy teams are posted usually an hour before the market closes on my story. If you guys have any questions, I'm way more active on Instagram than I am on YouTube. I only come on YouTube to kind of post videos. Instagram, I'm way more active. So give me a follow on Instagram. Ask me any questions you guys may have. My final team, like I said, come the deadline, is going to be there. But yeah, peace out. I hope this video helped you guys. And yeah, good luck match day 1, guys.